So here we are seeing Kapila Muni describing the form of the Supreme Lord who is seated in everyone's heart as the super soul. So a yogi, he is recommended to meditate on this form. It is also recommended that he meditates on his different activities and many other things. So here, continuing with that, Lord Kapila, he is telling that one should meditate on the form of the Lord not collectively, his entire form put together. No. What recommendation is given here? He should meditate on each and every limb individually and separately. In fixing his mind on the eternal form of the Lord, the yogi should not take a collective view of his limbs, but should fix the mind on each individual limb of the Lord. And here we see Prabhupada mentioning in the purport that this process, maybe starting from this verse, from the next verse onwards, we find description given in great detail of each and every limb of the Lord. How does it appear? What does he hold? And many intricate details related to that. So, a Muni is recommended to individually meditate on each of these limbs. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that this process, what Kapila Muni is recommending in this portion of Bhagavatam, is meant for Munis and not devotees. So how to understand? Because devotees are also recommended, just like in seeing the deity, in taking darshan. Srila Prabhupada in many other places he has told, yes, we should first look at the lotus feet of the Lord, gradually rise above, look at his lotus face. Yes, that is there. But one more very important point is mentioned here. Let us look at it. So now first trying to understand who is a Muni. Because it is said here, Ange Bhagavato Munihi, a Muni. Usually a Muni, a yogi, and all of these things appear one for us. But of course in different contexts, different ways it is explained. Generally, a Muni, here as Srila Prabhupada says, he is very expert in thinking, feeling, willing and mental speculation. He is very expert in doing these things. So if this is the definition of the Muni, then devotees are not recommended to become Munis. Because who is a devotee then? A devotee is one who renders actual service to the Lord and are called Bhakti Yogis. So this we need to understand. There are one set of transcendentalists, spiritualists who do lot of mental speculation, who are not satisfied with the instructions given by Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. They want to find things on their own. So lot of mental speculation they do. They also refer to Vedic literatures. They also observe many things in the outside world, and they want to find the path for themselves. There are some philosophical speculators, mental speculators. These philosophical speculators means their end goal is fixed. That's the Supreme Lord. He is the goal. But to reach Him, different ways they speculate. They won't take things as given because they don't have so much faith. They want to try out something on their own. The tendency is there. Philosophical speculators. When we say mental speculators, their goal is also not fixed. Their path is also not fixed. Simply speculate. Some things are given here, they'll take some verses here and there from the Vedic literatures and go on speculating. On the contrary to this, devotees of the Lord, they engage themselves in practical devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So they also read the Vedic literatures. They also hear from saintly people, from the spiritual master, but they have got a lot of faith in it, and the conclusive part they are more interested in, and the system chalked out by their spiritual master, they accept it as it is and faithfully follow it. So their focus will be towards in actual implementation of the instructions given, in performance of actual practical devotional service. So this is a devotee. So we need to be very careful with this. Of course, a Muni compared to ordinary, we can say like people, like say animalistic people who live life like animals, just interested in eating, sleeping, mating, defending activities, compared to them, these munis are something superior. They are little highly situated. Above all the karmis also. Karmi means those who are interested in enjoying this material world. By working hard, I'll gain the fruits and I'll enjoy the fruits what I have obtained. So these munis are better than such animalistic men and karmis, but they are still on the path of obtaining perfection. They have not yet reached the perfectional stage. So they are trying through different kinds of speculation. There are a lot of, like say, more inclined towards thinking, feeling and willing. That means they are not like karmis and people like animalistic men who are just interested in enjoying their gross material senses, how to eat nicely, sleep nicely, do mating nicely, defend nicely, and all of these things, so much grossly they are involved in. The munis, they are little superior to them. They are very thoughtful. They are like thinking, feeling. They have a little, at least, arisen above the gross bodily level. But they are not on par with devotees. Devotees, specifically pure devotees, have reached the perfectional stage of their spiritual life. So these munis are still on the way to go. So let us take few examples and try to understand. This very famous example from the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Vallabha Bhatta. Many a times we keep hearing about this because there Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict in dealing with Vallabha Bhatta. He was like this, like a lot of thinking, feeling, willing, what is said here. And it's not that he was not a devotee, he was a devotee of the Lord. a very great devotee, he was a learned scholar, a very pious man, but still some tendency of getting name and fame, getting reputation, of what we say puja, labha, pratishtha, this contamination Mahaprabhu identified in him. When he came to Jagannath Puri itself, he had brought one book written by him, and he wanted Mahaprabhu and all of his devotees to hear it. Mahaprabhu did not agree for it. And then he came with a proposal that I have composed some 1,000 names of Krishna, some verses related to that. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately rejected it. No. I am just satisfied with Krishna's these two names, Shyama Sundara, Yashodanandana. That is sufficient for me. These 1,000 names and all of these things, no, I am not such a scholarly person like you. This is sufficient for me. In another occasion, Vallabha Bhatta comes and he starts asking many things. Once he says how Sridhara Swami, what commentary he has given. I have written a commentary refuting the arguments what earlier Acharya Sridhara Swami, what he has given. And in some other occasion, he puts a question in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu says, no, here Advaita Acharya, he is there, you can go and ask him. So he asked in front of all devotees that, how can you chant Krishna's name? Krishna is the Purusha, we are all Prakritis, and Prakriti, how can the wife, how will a chaste wife call out her husband's name? It's not correct. So what do you say? So like this, so many questions he used to bring, and Advaita Acharya says, no, Mahaprabhu, you can only answer this. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very sternly he replied, it is the first duty of the wife to listen to the husband, whatever husband says. He has told to chant his name, so you should do that. That's the first duty of the wife. And whoever doesn't accept Swami, so actually in the earlier portion, Vallabha Bhatta had told, rejected the opinions of Sridhara Swami. So Mahaprabhu strictly he says, that person who doesn't accept Swami, who has rejected the Swami, I consider such a person as a prostitute. That wife who is not accepting her husband means she is not a chaste wife. So in these stern ways, Mahaprabhu chastised Vallabha Bhatta just to teach him a lesson. Though he was a devotee, he is very learned in everything, accepting Krishna as the Supreme Lord, but still that was not sufficient. Little more fine-tuning was required. But on the other hand, just by looking at the menial services rendered by Prataparudra Maharaja, sweeping the floor, and by other devotees, many other devotees just like Kolavecha Sridhara, then Haridas Thakur, all Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so very mercifully inclined towards them. Even little service anyone does, Mahaprabhu used to recognize that and he used to appreciate that. And especially Shivananda Sena, who used to take care of all the people who used to travel from Bengal every year, he used to bring them, take care of their accommodation and food arrangements. He was so mercifully disposed towards him, towards Shivananda Sena and all of his family members. And in fact, he personally gave his son the name Puri Dasa. That means so very he was inclined towards them, to whoever renders some service towards him, towards devotees. But mental speculators, philosophical speculators, too much inclined towards all scholarliness, Mahaprabhu was not very much inclined towards them. So this we need to understand. Similarly, we can remember the instruction of Srila Prabhupada also. In one of the places, Like Prabhupada asks, do you know why I have written so many books? Different devotees, different answers they were giving. And finally Prabhupada concluded by telling, to convince you to chant Hare Krishna. Simply reading and becoming a big scholar, this was not what Prabhupada wanted. After reading the books, after understanding the philosophy, we need to engage ourselves in practical devotional service. We need to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, the Yuga Dharma, purify our existence and become eligible to go back to Godhead. This is what is required, not just whatever scholarly understanding, philosophical speculation. No, that is insufficient. Someone who is inclined in that, okay, let him do that little, whatever. Of course it is recommended that we do scrutinizing study, all of these things, but that is not the end. After that, we need to engage ourselves in practical devotional service. Shri Krishna Balarama ki jai. That's why this verse is also often quoted. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyaihi sevonmukhehi jihvadau swayameva spuratyadaha. Shri Krishna Nama Adi, the Lord's name, His character, His activities, pastimes, everything related with the Supreme Lord, na bhaved grahyam indriyaihi, to just gross senses, even mind also, mind, intelligence, material mind, material intelligence, highly philosophical, that is also not sufficient. Sevonmukhehi jihvadau, until and unless we engage all of the faculties what we have, the senses, the mind, intelligence, everything in the service of the Lord, till then we will not be able to understand Krishna. But when we engage all of these faculties in the service of the Lord, swayameva spuratyadaha, automatically the Lord will reveal Himself. So our entire process, the bhakti process, is surrender and revelation. Surrender, render service, be submissive, and it's a process of revelation by the Supreme Lord. It's not that we do something and we acquire. No, that's not the way at all. Submissiveness and surrender, and then revelation. So this verse from the Mahabharata, I'll read out. Tarko apratishtaha shrutayo vibhinna nasa vrishir yasya matirna bhinnam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gata sapantaha. So here we see who is a Muni. Nasa vrishir yasya matir na bhinnam. A great personality whose opinion does not differ from others is not considered a great sage. So to become a Muni means he should differ from the opinions of others. Then he will be called a Muni. Just like that example of Vallabha Bhatta we took. He wanted something unique than what the earlier acharyas had given. So if that is the mood, then he can become a big Muni, but he can't become a great devotee. Dry arguments are inconclusive. Tarko apratishtaha. Simply dry arguments. Just like nowadays especially, we have heard how there are a lot of television debates going on. People are very much attracted to or inclined towards that. any one topic, some topic comes up, and there are many people, especially political leaders and different thinkers and social activists, they all are very eager to give their own opinions, to give their own perspectives of whatever problems in the society, things happening in the society, and left and right, different kinds of arguments in favor, against it, and many things. It goes on and on and on. But most of the time, if we see, is the problem actually really solved? The answer would be no. Go on debating, discussing. Okay, that also has a place. But simply dry speculation, dry arguments, it leads nowhere. Because the people who make decisions, the people who actually turn things around, they'll be different. Somewhere some people, they simply go on discussing. It will lead to nowhere. Simply useless waste of time. In the Bhagavatam, that's why it is said, how jihva asati dardurikeva suta nacha upagayati urgaya gataha. This jihva, if it is not used for glorifying the Supreme Lord, any other mundane subject matter it is involved in, it is nothing but the croaking of frogs, the croaking of toads. In the due course, what's happening? It's actually inviting snakes towards it. Oh, come here. It makes some sound. The snakes will come to know, here frogs are there. They'll come and eat it away. This is exactly what happens if we don't involve ourselves in chanting, hearing, speaking about the Supreme Lord. Any other mundane subject matter we speak, it is nothing but croaking of frogs. So dry arguments are inconclusive. A great personality whose opinion does not differ from others is not considered a great sage. Simply by studying the Vedas, which are variegated, one cannot come to the right path by which religious principles are understood. This is yet another thing. Shrutayo vibhinnaha. There are many Vedic literatures. Simply go on reading book after book, one after the other, and through these things, one cannot come to the right path or the right conclusion. Then the solid truth of religious principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. So then, if at all we want to know the real truth, the conclusion, what we need to do? We need to approach an unadulterated, self-realized person. So who is this unadulterated, self-realized person? He is a pure, 100% pure devotee of the Lord. Without any adulteration of karma, jnana, any kind of material desires, 100% pure, unadulterated, self-realized person. So if we can approach them, because dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam, this dharmasya tattva, the religious truths, the conclusion statements are there in the hearts of self-realized souls, the pure devotees. So consequently, as the Shastras confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajanas advocate. Again I repeat, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajanas advocate. We should accept the progressive path. See, this progressive path is also a very interesting term. Okay, do this and everything is over. Many a times instructions may not be as simple as this. Depending on the person, desha, kala, patra, the place, the time, the person, some specific instructions will also be required. So we need to approach a spiritual master. So the spiritual master, he gives instructions for this progressive path, from whatever level we are in, how to progress to the next level. Of course, the clarion call, the Yuga Dharma, chant Hare Krishna, that's there, available with us. We do that. Along with that, there are many things, do's and don'ts, which we need to consider. Let me tell you this story, story of Upamanyu. Upamanyu, actually he was a disciple of Dhaumya Rishi. Earlier I have told this story, but let us try to understand it in this context now. There is this Dhaumya Rishi, a very great sage. He had 3 disciples by name. One is Veda, then Aruni and Upamanyu. The first disciple, Aruni, all 3 disciples are very sincere. Once the spiritual master, he instructed Aruni that he should go to the field, it's raining very heavily, and he should protect the crops. It should not be it should be over flooded. They would have raised some mud walls to stop the water, and it was raining very heavily, and he told to go and check there. So he went there, and he saw how the mud wall was about to fall off. All the water would have flooded the entire the agricultural and the places there. So he tried somehow to set it right, but finally it was things were beyond his hand, and personally he lay there. Through his body he stopped the water from gushing out, and all of these things he did and somehow saved the situation. And later when Dhaumya Rishi came to know about it, was very pleased with his disciple. He blessed him. And another disciple, Veda, he was very austere, sleeping on the floor, taking all kinds of austerities, doing fasting and many things. So he also pleased his spiritual master, and he was also blessed by his spiritual master. The third disciple, Upamanyu, he was little stubborn, he was a little fat looking, a little stubborn and bold person. So this spiritual master, he asked him, Upamanyu, how come you are growing fat? What do you do for your food? How come, what's happening? So he says, I go beg from door to door, I collect alms through begging, and I eat nicely. Then no. Whatever you beg, whatever comes, first it has to be offered to the spiritual master. This is the injunction. You need to do this. Okay, he accepted. Then again after a few months, again the spiritual master, he observed, how come still he is growing fat, nicely, very strong and sturdy? How is this? No, I go beg, whatever I get I come and offer it to you, and again I go for begging, and second time when I go, whatever they give, I take it for myself. First I go for begging, come and offer it to you, and then second time when I go, that I take it and nicely I eat that. No, this is also wrong. Whatever comes, everything you need to give it to the spiritual master. Okay, he accepted. Then again, after a few months, again, Dhaumya Rishi observed him, and again, how come still you are looking like this? He told, no, what you told that, okay, begging, whatever comes, I will give it to you, and all those things are happening. But I go to the Goshala, I take care of the cows, and I milk the cows, and sufficient milk I'll drink every day. Arey, no. Whatever milk is there coming from the Goshala, first it has to be offered to the Lord, and then it is supposed to be taken. You can't do this, this is completely wrong. Okay, he accepted that also, and then he stopped taking milk from the Goshala. And likewise, like why I am telling you, how step by step, we all come from different understandings, different kinds of mistakes we do, gross mistakes we may do. Every time the spiritual master, some instructions we hear from devotees, we need to accept it, we need to mold ourselves and change the course of action. And this is what we find just like in Upamanyu. And finally it is said at one point of time, when he had gone to the forest, he was actually hungry, and he ate some leaves or something, due to which some poisoning happened, and he lost his eyes. He became blind, and he was just trying to get the way back to the ashram, and somehow he fell into a well. One open well was there, and he fell inside that. So he's shouting and nobody to help, and he is blind now, unable to see, unable to come out of the well. And at that point of time, he chanted some mantras from the Rig Veda, inviting the Ashwini Devatas, the physicians of the heavenly planet. So after he chanted those mantras, immediately the Ashwini Devatas, they came and they offered him some food, some rice cake, something for him to eat. So you eat this. So he told, no, how can I eat? First, whatever anything is given, first I need to give it to my spiritual master, only then I can take. I can't take this directly. No, the Ashwini Devatas told, no, you only called us, so we have brought this remedy for you. You eat this, and then your eyes will be, your blindness will go away, and then you can escape, come out of this well, go to the ashram, or then you can go and serve your spiritual master. Otherwise, you may lose your life also. Eat this. Still, Upamanyu was very strict. He was stubborn in following the instructions of his spiritual master. No, without giving to my spiritual master, I cannot accept this. So the Ashwini Devatas, they were very pleased with him, and they blessed him, and he was able to gain his vision, and through all of these things, he was able to get the mercy, the blessings of his spiritual master. So here we see again the same points to repeat. Mahajana yena gatassa pantaha. Just becoming a muni, a philosophical speculator, thinking, feeling, willing, very expert in these things, no, this won't work. How much ever is required, to whatever extent it is instructed by the spiritual master, how we need to read books and all of these things we need to get into. But after that, we need to engage ourselves in practical devotional service, and we need to be always ready to be corrected. We need to always be ready to improve ourselves in our service to the spiritual master, and by his blessings, yes, we'll be able to get the blessings, the mercy of the Supreme Lord, and then make our lives successful. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, yasya aprasadat nagati kutopi. We'll end with this. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki,